And the last thing that I'd want to mention is about something that's happened. I'm now teaching the second semester, and I'm only about 3 or 4 sessions in, and we had done the positive introductions, and I do them in an experiential way so that the students do the introduction to the whole class, and they really get into it. And I add a few little things from psychodrama to amplify it, to make it a little bit more of a highlighted experience for each student and for the group. And the week after we did the first couple of positive introductions, one young woman started to share about what it was like to have that class and then go back home and realize that she really had a lot of gratitude in her life that she wasn't acknowledging. And she started to rattle off a list of ailments and conditions and situations that her family members were in that were really difficult. And as she was talking about this gratitude for her life, she started to weep. And now I was about to deliver, I just sort of parenthetically asked, what's the follow-up from last week? I thought we'd get a couple of good comments and then move into my lecture on kindness. And so she started to cry, and immediately 2 other people shared and had exactly the same experience and followed up with that, and they were crying. So here we have. So that's the other thing, to be prepared for the fact that this is an affectively intense class, and not all the time. They don't cry all the time, but if we're going after positive emotions, you have to remember that tragedy to triumph is the arc of most good narrative stories. So when people talk about really being engaged with life and having a positive introduction, it's almost always like the lotus, it's coming up from the muck in their life and rising to the top, reaching for the sun. And so people were sharing, they were crying, and I'm like, I don't know if I can make this stretch to kindness here. I guess I could, but and then what happened is the students who weren't in that emotional place started talking about it. And one of them said, well, isn't this really about resilience, and how we're noticing who has more resilience and how it's impacted their life? And I thought, oh, well, what a great bridge, And then somebody else said, actually, I think it's the difference between optimism and pessimism. Now, I was going to talk about kindness, but I made the transition into talking about learned optimism as the platform for a future lecture on resilience. So my point with this is to be where the students are. Allow them to lead you. There's a saying, a good leader follows. So have your lectures prepared, but be able to follow this probably much more than even in any other course that you've taught, because this is going to flow and find its own way. And my encouragement is to be a good leader and follow.